China has cut off access to America's key goods, and Canada is supporting China. What's going on with the US-China trade war? Why is China coming out the winner? And what are the implications for global trade? This is Ilya Brizak with you. Let's discuss this. U.S. President Donald Trump has promised, imposed tough duties against China, Mexico, and Canada. But suddenly, Xi Jinping responded just as quickly and harshly. China unveiled a new, more sweeping retaliatory package that included duties of up to 15% on a range of American goods and cut off access to key American exports. Now, the states are starting to feel the effects from the trade war that has begun, and the global boycott of U.S. products is gaining momentum, which is making the country increasingly isolated. But the interesting thing is that the fallout from this is far more unexpected than it seems. Donald Trump's trade policies and the duties he has imposed have led to major changes in the global economy. While the U.S. sought to reduce its trade deficit, China used the situation to its advantage by strengthening ties with Canada and Mexico, America's closest trading partners. U.S. companies faced higher prices for imported goods, making Chinese products even more attractive to the North American market. Subscribe to my channel right now. I tell you about the latest news from around the world. As a result, global supply chains have undergone significant changes. Some production has moved to Southeast Asia, and China's economic influence has continued to grow, especially in strategically important sectors. Previously associated primarily with cheap goods, China now offers products that are not only affordable, but also competitive in quality. This is especially evident in the electric car industry, where Chinese companies such as BYD and Xiaomi produce models that are as good as their Western counterparts, but much more affordable. For example, the BYD Seagull, costing around $11,000, offers a range of 400 kilometers, making it popular among buyers on a tight budget, while the same Tesla Model 3 in China sells for a minimum of $35,800. And this price difference gives Chinese manufacturers a significant advantage, contributing to their expansion in Canada and Mexico, where distribution centers and assembly plants have already begun to appear. However, it's not just about cars. Chinese companies are actively displacing U.S. goods in sectors ranging from consumer electronics to heavy industry. In an attempt to reduce dependence on the U.S. economy, Canada and Mexico are increasingly choosing Chinese goods as a more favorable alternative. Thus, as a result, again, Tesla, once the leader in the electric car market, is starting to lose ground. In February 2025, its sales in China fell by 49%, reaching their lowest level since August 2022. At the same time, BYD has increased its sales by 90%, offering ultra-budget models priced under $10,000. And Chinese technological innovations further strengthen its position. For example, BYD's collaboration with DJI has created a unique drone system for cars that can capture panoramic videos right during the ride. Such technology costs about $2,200 and has attracted tech-savvy buyers, setting new industry standards. In response, Western automakers are being forced to accelerate their own innovations to keep up in the technology race. Moreover, Chinese companies have begun aggressive expansion into European and Latin American markets, offering lucrative credit programs and localization of production. However, U.S. trade policy has not only affected China. The introduction of duties caused a sharp reaction from Canada as well. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the tariffs imposed by Trump absolutely unacceptable.
Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
After which Ottawa took tough retaliatory measures. Counter tariffs worth $107 billion were imposed, of which $20 billion were on American goods. The consequences were not long in coming. The U.S. steel and aluminum industries, which were already in a vulnerable position, faced even greater instability. U.S. producers dependent on Canadian metal felt the rise in production costs, which jeopardized jobs and the competitiveness of their products. Key U.S. exports, including pork, cheese, and whiskey, were also hit with retaliatory duties. As a result, traditionally export-oriented producers from Wisconsin, Iowa, and Kentucky began to suffer losses, and farmers' associations began to pressure the White House to reconsider tariff policy. But the automotive industry, one of the most important sectors of North American trade, was particularly affected. Automakers have warned that the new tariffs could lead to a 25% increase in car prices, which would hit consumers' wallets hard. The new duties have jeopardized the supply of components and finished products, and supply chains built over decades have begun to collapse. Now the industry is forced to adapt to the new realities, overcoming the effects of trade tensions. And what do you think about it? Write in the comments. But But Canada's most unexpected initiative was to discuss the possibility of using its natural resources as an instrument of pressure. After Washington imposed a 10% tariff on Canadian energy imports, political circles in Ottawa began debating the advisability of retaliatory steps in the energy sector. If Canada decides to take such measures, the conflict with the U.S. will reach a new level, linking trade disputes to geopolitics. The U.S. energy dependence on Canadian oil makes the move particularly painful. Any supply disruption could lead to higher fuel prices in the U.S., which in turn would affect the entire U.S. economy. And for the U.S., as we know, fuel prices are a very sensitive issue. Subscribe to my channel right now. I tell you about the latest news from around the world. However, such measures carry risks for Canada itself. Reorientation of supplies to other markets will require significant investment and time. Against this background, China has already offered Ottawa alternative export routes, which could lead to long-term changes in the global energy balance. While North America is experiencing an economic standoff, China has seized the moment and increased trade pressure on the U.S. In early 2025, tensions between the two countries reached a peak. On February 1st, President Donald Trump announced 10% tariffs on all Chinese imports and doubled them on March 3rd, citing threats to national security and the fight against fentanyl smuggling. Beijing responded with lightning speed. It imposed 15% duties on U.S. chicken, wheat, corn, and cotton, as well as 10% tariffs on soybeans, pork, beef, seafood, and dairy products. The energy sector was also hit. China raised duties on U.S. coal, LNG, and oil, which destabilized global energy markets. As a result, WTI crude oil futures jumped 7%, which led to an increase in fuel prices in the U.S. In addition, Chinese authorities expanded the list of so-called untrustworthy U.S. companies, banning their operations in the country, which dealt a blow to the U.S. technology sector. As a result, American farmers faced a drop in prices for their products. Wheat fell in price by 17%, corn by 9%, soybeans by 8%. And amid mounting trade pressures, Beijing has accelerated its course toward technological and economic self-sufficiency. China has set an economic growth target of 5% and increased military spending by 7%, demonstrating a drive to strengthen domestic capabilities. And what do you think about it? Write in the comments. Thus, the trade war is taking on global proportions. The U.S. finds itself in a difficult situation. Farmers are losing the Chinese market, manufacturers are facing increased costs, and consumers are feeling the rising prices. While China, Canada, and other countries are adapting to new opportunities by reorienting trade flows and reducing dependence on the U.S. economy. But the big question remains, can the United States turn the tide, or will its economic dominance wane under the onslaught of new realities? Write in the comments what you think about it. Busty and Patreon for those who want to support the channel. See ya!